Okay, hello everybody, and thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to make shortbread, and it makes about 20 to 24 biscuits. And all we need is the butter, caster sugar, and plain flour. So if we can start by putting the, actually we don't need to put the oven on yet because we're going to be putting them in the fridge. So we'll leave the oven for a little bit. First thing we're going to do is measure half a cup or 125 grams or 4 ounces of butter. So 4 ounces of butter, 125 grams, half a cup, and then pop it into your mixing bowl. Then what I've done is I've chopped up my butter into little squares because it'll be easier to work with than a big lump. So just chop your butter up into little squares. I'll give you a moment.
Hey, Mum, how many bowls?
What's that about a bowl?
How many bowls?
I've got 3 bowls, but you can probably get away with 2 bowls. I've got a big one for mixing and a smaller one that I'm weighing my stuff and putting it in there.
I've got these.
I can't really see you, Will, but I'm sure they are okay. Are you watching, Andy? No, okay. I'm sure they're okay. Right, next ingredient, we're going to measure 2 ounces, 55 grams, or a quarter of a cup of caster sugar.
As always, Kim, I'm watching and monitoring and marshalling and recording for later on.
Thank you. Just if someone asks a question, I can't move off my screen. So if you could just sort of check that they're okay, or if I'm going too fast for anyone.
Roger that.
Will. Right, caster sugar. We're going to measure 2 ounces, or 55 grams, or a quarter of a cup. Okay, keep your sugar handy because we're going to need a little bit of sugar at the end to sprinkle on the shortbread. Now, I've got my sugar there, and I'm now going to pour it on top of the butter. And then I'm going to weigh the last ingredient so it's all ready. So that's going to be 6 ounces of plain flour, 180 grams of plain flour, or 3/4 of a cup. So 6 ounces, 180 grams, 3/4 of a cup. So here's my plain flour. Maybe if you enjoy doing the cooking, at some point, you could perhaps treat yourself to some scales. They're not very expensive. Well, you can get really super duper ones, but mine are pretty run-of-the-mill scales. So I'm putting my flour to the side a moment, and my scales aside because I don't need them anymore. And I've got my butter and my caster sugar mix.
We used to have talking ones at school.
Pardon?
We used to have talking scales at school.
Oh. Right, now, this next bit, you can mix it if you've got a hand mixer. So a little electric hand mix. I'm going to use a fork. Okay, so I've got my fork at the moment, and I'm going to just gently mash my butter into the sugar. So I'm just literally mashing it with the fork until all the butter and the sugar is mixed up together. This is why you needed your butter quite soft, not melted, but soft. And in this weather, this isn't so easy to do because I've had my butter out all night and my butter's still quite hard. But once you mix it a little bit, it starts melting. So a little hand mixer would do this a little bit easier. So you can see my mixture's starting to join up now. It's starting to soften.
We haven't started the mixing yet, Kim.
That's okay. Where are you? Whereabout are you?
We haven't started yet. We're starting now.
All right, that's okay. It's very simple.
We're about to put the butter in.
Okay, this takes quite a bit of time to do this. You could use margarine or something like Lurpak, because Lurpak is kind of like butter, but it's softer. Or you could perhaps use Anchor Spreadable to make life a little bit easier. Now, mine is all mixed in now. So now I'm going to attempt to swap over to a wooden spoon or a metal spoon. I'm scraping everything off the fork because I want to really try it and beat. So you need a little bit of strength for this. Try and beat. You'll have big muscles after this. Can you see it's going a bit softer now? If your arm aches, maybe you've got someone else there that can do this with you.
Okay.
Now I'm going to scrape it off the spoon for a minute. And I'm going to go back to it again. Right, I'm going to scrape that off again. Is anyone having trouble doing this because their butter's a bit hard? Or is it just me? Right, now, flour.
Kim, what's your butter hard?
Yeah, I've had it all night, still quite hard.
What's your butter hard?
Because my kitchen's cold. So I might borrow a mic in a minute to help me mix this. So I've mixed my sugar and my butter. I'm now going to start adding the flour. I'm going to add it spoonful by spoonful.
What did you say? You might have. Yeah.
Kim,
Hello.
I'm just trying to have a go at mine because I did have a scale, but then the battery ran out. So I need to get a new battery to use for the scale, but then I'm just using a measuring jug.
That's brilliant.
But I'm just trying to do mine accurate as I can, but it's just like, I'm just having a go.
Yes, that's the best thing to do. Have a go. So I've mixed in the first bit of flour. I'm mixing in some more.
I will order a new battery.
Gently mix so you're not spraying the flour everywhere. We're going to eventually end up with something called cookie dough. Now,
I enjoy baking
that's lovely.
because I've made shortbread many times before. I've done a good job, I think.
Good. We're starting off with what I was hoping were going to be quite easy, basic recipes. But everything is a skill.
Yeah, all a good skill.
Merrily mixing my flour in.
Just having a go.
It's surprising how much flour this mixture takes. Right, we're meant to be getting a smooth paste at this point. Anybody got a smooth paste yet?
It's not that easy. I find it easy when using scales, but with a measuring jar, I can just...
Put my hands in it, which are clean, and see if I find it easier to do it with my hands.
I'm doing that.
Yeah, because your hand warms the butter up. So already it's much better. So if you don't like touching things like this, you could always wear a pair of plastic gloves. But
I like the feel of it.
Need your dough. That's much better. It makes the butter starts getting warmer and stick into the flour. So you should be aiming at something like this, where it's all joined together. And it was really putting my hand in there and mixing that has made it much better. So it's a little bit like making pastry or even bread.
What's the next bit, Ken?
Have you got your dough? Does it look like that, William?
No, not yet.
Okay, that's what you need for it to look like that. Sugar, your butter, and your flour.
What's next?
Into a dough. Right, after that, once it's all joined together, if you see, I haven't got any mess left in my bowl. It's all here. And then I've got a chopping board, a big board here, or you can use a clean work kitchen surface. I cleaned mine ready earlier, so I had everything ready. And I'm going to get a little bit of flour. And I'm going to sprinkle my flour on my chopping board like that. That's so our dough doesn't stick. And I'm going to put it onto here, and I'm still going to keep kneading it.
You have to refrigerate it for about 20 minutes.
Cut them out. That's quite correct. And then when we put them in the fridge, what we'll do is hand over to Tom and do some drawing while they're in the fridge. So knead, put a little bit of elbow grease into it. Right, spread your flour again.
Find it easier using scales.
Yeah, put a little bit of flour on the top, and then I have got my rolling pin. I'm going to get a little bit of flour on my hand, and I'm going to just rub my rolling pin a bit.
I'm only joking here, so don't take this wrong way, but is that in case it might does your head in?
Say that again.
I'm only joking here, so don't take it wrong way, but is that in case Mike does your head in? Your rolling pin.
Oh, right. It's a very old rolling pin. I've had this a long time. Now
If you get what I mean.
we need to roll this out until it's about 1/2 inch deep. Now,
I'll go get a rolling pin.
1/2 inch is about that much. See, from my finger to the top of the nail on this finger, about that much. So it's about like that, as if you're rolling out biscuit. Now there's different shapes that you can do.
I've got shape cutters.
Okay, I'm just going to show you a few of my shapes because I've collected them over the years. I've got a bat. That's a Halloween cutter. And I've got I think that's a cherry on top of a cake, that one. We're not quite sure about what that one is. I've got a cupcake cutter. And I've got, this one's lovely for Valentine's. I've got a heart.
That's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah, that's a really nice one. I like this one as well. Butterfly.
Oh.
And what else have I got? Oh, I've got that one. I haven't used that one yet. It's the snowman. That one will become in handy if we do gingerbread men. I've got a crown. I've got a little butterfly. And I've even got a dolphin that I used for a cake once that wanted fish on it, dolphins. So there's loads and loads and loads of different cutters. That one is a pram, and that would be used for a christening cake. So today, I am going to use, I think I'm going to make a couple with this cutter, and I'm going to do some just basic oblong shortbread. So I have a knife, palette knife. Now this week we don't need to butter our baking trays, okay? So you don't need to butter it this week. Keep it plain. I'm popping that there, and I'm going to cut out a couple of these rosettes.
I'll be back in a minute.
So they're like that.
I'm just getting the rolling pin.
Okay, there's no hurry.
Just take my time and just be kind to myself.
Yeah, take your time. I'm going to do a few of those. I'm going to spread them out on the baking tin. Then I'm going to, so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to cut down here. And then I'm going to cut strips. Like that. So I've got, and then I'm going to make, I can probably get 3 out of that. So they're like that. And like that. And I'm spreading them out on my baking tray. Right, I might cut a couple out now. I might actually do a couple of butterflies. So this would be the same if you were making any sort of biscuit. You'd use the same principle of cutting out your biscuit. Cut as many out as you can, because the least you've got over, the less you're going to have to kind of mix it together and roll it again. So far I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I've got 16. But that's because mine are all different shapes and sizes. Now I've got some scraps here. So I'm going to put all the scraps together again. And squeeze it into another ball. Same as if it was pastry. Because you don't want to chuck your scraps away. I'm going to put a little bit more flour on here. A little bit of flour on the top. Little bit of flour on my rolling pin. And I'm going to roll these scraps out and try and get some more shortbread out of it. In a minute, when you've got to this point, the reason we put them in the fridge is for the butter that we've made warm to actually go hard again. And that way it stops, hopefully it will stop them all going into each other and they'll keep their shape. All right, I'm going to put that aside for a minute. And I'm going to bring my tray back into focus. So that's what I've ended up with. My cut ones are much better than my square ones. And then I've got a fork. And what you always get on shortbread is like little dents with the fork. So I'm going to gently prick all around the edge with the fork. This takes a little bit of time. I don't know if any of you noticed, but Simon made some shortbread. He may have copied the recipe that I'd put on the Arts and Crafts Friday, and he went ahead and made them. So that's what you can actually do. If you see a recipe, you can actually have a go at making it if you get a spare moment, or we can do it together. So I've put little holes around all of my square ones and oblong ones. I'll lift one up to show you. Can you see all the little holes? And I'm just going to put a few on the other ones. Right, so it's something like that. And the last thing I'm going to do at the moment is get some sugar and sprinkle the sugar on top of your biscuit. Like that, like it's snow.
Sorry, I went then. It's just my phone ran out of charge.
Oh dear.
I know, I'm just charging it back up.
There we are. So we're just sprinkling some sugar on. When you get to that stage, we're going to pop them in the fridge for 20 minutes. Okay, so Mike's popping mine in the fridge now. And also what we can do at this point is turn your oven on, and your oven will be 190 degrees centigrade, 375 degrees Fahrenheit, or gas mask mark 5. So 190, 375, or gas 5.
I'm not quite there yet.
That's all right. The oven can be warming up while your shortbread is setting in the fridge.
I need to finish off.
Right. I'm just going to wash my hands.